Okay, 8.3, exploring logarithmic functions. Okay, so last year you guys learned in 11U that you use logs to get rid of an exponent, not to get rid of an exponent, but to isolate for an exponent. Okay, so whenever we want to solve for x and it's in the exponent, we want to use logarithms in order to isolate for x. If you guys could read this on your own, just a quick note, b has to be greater than 0. It cannot be 0, sorry, it has to be greater than 0, so it can't be negative, and it can't be 1. Okay, so from what you learned last year is we add, if we want to isolate for x, what we do is we add log. So we have log 8. So we add log on one side. Whatever you do to one side, you must do to the other side. So we have log 8 equals log 2 to the power of x. And the reason why we do that is so that we can now bring the exponent down. So we can take this exponent and bring it to the front of the log. Once we bring the x to the front of the log, it then becomes multiplication. Okay, so here we have log 8 equals x times log 2. And the reason why you need to know that is because when we're isolating from x now, we want to remove the log 2 by doing the opposite operation. So to do the opposite operation, we divide by log 2 on both sides. And now you plug this into your calculator, log 8 divided by log 2 gives you the answer of 3. So x equals 3, or 3 is equal to x. So let's see from the glare. As I mentioned before, we do not need to know this part. Do not worry about the inverses or graphing logs. Just know that the log is the inverse of an exponential function. So an exponential function is here, a positive one. So when we reflect it over the y equals x plane, it gets reflected this way, and this becomes a log. Okay, likewise on a negative exponential function, and when we reflect it over the plane, we get the right one here. Okay, so all you need to know is the log is the inverse of an exponential function. Okay, number 2, write each equation in logarithmic form. Okay, so we're going to follow this snail method. So what we do is we start with the base. We're going to go across the equal sign and then back to the exponent. So we start with the 2. Go 2, so log base 2 to the 64 equals 6. So log base 2, so this is the base in a power. So this is base 2 to the power of 6, or the exponent 6. So this becomes the base in the log. So we have log base 2 to the 64 equals 6. So what that means is 2 to the power of 6 will give you 64. Okay, so when we're doing the snail method to convert from exponential to logarithm, again, start with the base, go across the equal sign, back to the exponent. So we have log to base b to the v equals e. Okay, and lastly, again, start with the base, which is 3 in this case. So log base 3 to the 1 over 9 equals negative 2. Log base 3, 1 over 9 equals negative 2. Okay, I could have done that with the previous question. So the previous one was 8 equals 2 to the power x. could have done the same. So log 2 to the 8 equals x. So we get log 2, 8 equals x. Okay, so we'll save, instead of doing all the steps that we did originally, we could just convert it and then solve it from here. Okay, and again in the note, logs cannot be negative, 0, or 1. Okay, now the next one, now we're going backwards. So now we're gonna go from log form into exponential, but we use the same method, which is called the snail method. So you start with the base, go across to the equal sign, so 4 to the power 3 equals 64. So 4 to the power 3 equals 64. Okay, always start with the base. Okay, and then note up here too, we also say, if you don't see a base, then it's automatically a 10. So in this one here, we have y equals log x. This one, the base is not written, so it's automatically a 10. So we have 10 to the power of y equals x. 10 to the power of y equals x. And lastly, sometimes you don't have the actual equation, they give you an expression. So what you do is just make it equal to y. Because in order to convert, we need an equal sign. So 3 to the power of y equals root 3. So 3 to the power of y equals root 3. Okay, now our last question. Now we're going to do evaluate. So for those watching at home or online, some of you guys have a calculator you can just plug this into. You might have a button that looks like this. It might go with a square and then a square. If you do, you can just plug it in and it'll give you the answer. If you do not, then we just divide. So log 81 divided by log 3. So the top divided by the bottom. And when you do it, you get the answer of 4. So you plug it in, log 81 over log 3. Okay, continue with that. Log 1 over 8 divided by the base, which is log 2. Plug in your calculator, you get the answer of negative 3. And lastly, again, no base, so it's automatically a 10. So log 0.01 divided by the base, which is log 10. When you do that, you get negative 2. Okay, there is a correction to the homework. So it's question 2, 4, 5, 7, and 9. So page 451, 1, 2, 4, sorry, 2, 4, 5, 7, 9.